Hello everyone, this is Frank DeMore with the End Times Research Ministry. I'd like to invite anyone who just found my YouTube channel to go over to my website. You'll see the link to the top there, endtimesresearchministry.com. Now, once you get there, you'll see the front and the back cover of my book. I just want to let you know, if you are new to my YouTube channel, that you can go over to my website and download my book today absolutely free. The book has been updated. Now, as always, I give you the scriptures showing you the warnings that our Lord has given to us about the last days, and we're supposed to be watching for these events to take place. It's a command that Jesus Christ has given to us. And of course, you'll see Zephaniah chapter 1 and the verses there, and 2 and 3 verses, and also Hosea chapter 4 verse 3, primarily talking about the same thing, the birds, the fish, and the animals that will be dying in the last days. Now, and you have to include Revelation chapter 11 verse 18, because this verse talks about the people destroying the earth. And you'll see it highlighted in yellow, shouldest destroy them which destroy the earth. And we know that pollution is a major problem in many parts around the world. Now, before we get to the news, let's not forget what the Lord Jesus told us.
Hello, my name is Giles Cockburn. I'm the fishery manager at Western Pools. We have a moral obligation report for pollution incident which occurred last night. Principally, it's wiped out just about everything you can think of in the food chain. All the invertebrates, caddis larvae, shrimp, and the trout on which they feed. Basically, we've lost in excess of about 50,000 fish, but our main concern is to warn dog walkers, people with livestock, just to be careful. We've been told it's not safe.
Hello and welcome. I'm Scott Dennis.
And I'm Haley Bogus. Thank you for joining us tonight. Dead fish are once again washing up along Suncoast beaches.
The mass fish kills are being blamed on red tide, a toxic algae bloom that causes reduced oxygen levels in area waters. ABC 7's Bo Beth Yates is at Lido Beach, where the red tide impacts are evident.
Yes, we've only been out here for a few minutes, but already we're feeling the impacts of the red tide. The watery eyes, itchy throat, and constant coughing. And that's not the worst of it, because if you walk along the beach, you'll see a lot of dead fish.
You gotta watch where you step. You might step on a catfish.
While the warning may sound bizarre, it's actually real. As far south as Venice, throughout Sarasota, and going north into Manatee County, area beaches have been inundated with dead fish washing ashore.
Just a microscopic algae bloom, basically, that causes the water to turn red, and it takes away It's like taking the oxygen away from the fish.
Lifeguard Brad Ward says they've posted signs all over area beaches in hopes of informing visitors about red tide and its impacts. Area health departments and Moat Marine Laboratory scientists have also issued warnings, saying the impacts go beyond the marine life.
Volunteers reporting what they see and hear along our beaches have noticed dead fish, as well as respiratory irritation, which could be coughing or sneezing.
And Rutgers says those with respiratory illnesses should use extra caution.
With respiratory conditions such as COPD, asthma, anything that's chronic and really affects you can be exacerbated by red tide. So you really do want to pay attention to those forecasts.
And the impacts aren't just affecting people with respiratory diseases.
We went to Manatee Beach on Sunday, and both of us, as soon as we put our chairs up, were like coughing, and we could hear people around us. And I said to Bruce, it sounds like a ward, a hospital ward with everybody coughing.
Officials say red tide is constantly moving, so you need to check the marine forecast before you head out to the beach. Beth Yates, ABC 7, your Suncoast News.
Thousands of birds found dead in the Yolo bypass. A CBS 13 viewer sent us these pictures and asked us what is causing this disturbing phenomenon.
We sent CBS 13's Macy Jenkins to Yolo County to get answers. She joins us live now in Davis with what wildlife experts had to say. Macy?
Well, Christina and Sam, those wildlife experts have been collecting these dead bird carcasses from the shore here for the last 3 days. Now, the virus that killed the birds, not a risk to humans, but it is a risk to other birds.
It's just shocking to see that kind of die-off. I've never seen anything like that before.
Walking along the Yolo bypass, Lawrence Campling saw this about a week ago.
Easily hundreds of bodies, hundreds of birds, all dead along the side of this flooded field.
More than 3,700 American coots, birds that look like ducks, all of them dead. Campling took these pictures and started to worry that something catastrophic was happening.
It's something that we deal with on the wildlife area fairly commonly.
Wildlife manager Jeffrey Stoddard says the coots caught a virus called Avian cholera caused by a bacteria.
It's something that they carry with them year-round.
So we wanted to know what caused the virus to kill them.
It only comes out when they get stressed, and in this case it's a physical stress.
Like shivering in the cold and being pushed out of their habitat because of high water.
Just like when we get sick, when we're close to a lot of our friends and not far away from everyone else, we spread a disease much quicker.
Other birds like ducks, geese, and herons can catch the virus too. So the most important step for wildlife experts, collecting the carcasses to keep the scavengers from spreading it around.
And so it's been wonderful with the wet winter we've had to see all the wildlife come back. And therefore even more shocking to see something like this happen.
We got basically Monday morning reports of birds that were sick or dying. We have seen mainly glaucous winged gulls and a glaucous winged hybrid. So far, that's what we've been reported and what we've seen. Okay, so what we're noticing out in the field is that the birds are very, you can approach them, they're not being able to move. So they might move their head, but normally when you would approach a gull, it will try to get away, it'll walk away, it'll fly away, but we're not seeing that. You can approach it, and so it's basically paralyzed from the neck down. It's been happening mainly in this area, but we found birds on Owen Beach, Browns Point, along Ruston Way, and then within the port of Tacoma.
Director of Aquaculture and Inland Fisheries in the Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources, Rudy Klute, says the ministry is aware of the dead fish. He says this is as a result of the mud which flows into the lake due to the heavy rains in the area. Klute revealed that the mud blocks the gills of the fish, resulting in insufficient supply of oxygen to the species. When our news team visited the lake, we came across large quantities of dead fish. The Ministry of Fisheries and Marine Resources is on a fact-finding mission to collect samples. Although the fish can still be consumed, Klute warned residents that it is unsafe to do so now. This picture looks like the end of the world. As you can see, this fish died on a catastrophic scale and everybody is wondering why. Kaipaero Kanji, NBC News, Lake Wanap.
February the 13th, 2017. Video, the recent heat wave sweeping across Australia has caused hundreds of endangered gray-headed flying foxes to die still hanging in the trees.
muck up this site of Lake Minnetonka. Foul the fresh air.
That is so disgusting.
Austin Hudnall and Steven Subsack could show you where to look.
It smells pretty bad down here.
They're at the spot where Grays Bay and Minnehaha Creek meet. They love to fish here when the fish are alive, not dead.
Look, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
There's so many of them, it just looks like there's rocks.
A fish kill here is not unusual, but this many, some say they've never seen before.
A couple hundred? I don't know, maybe more. A lot. I feel bad because my kids like to catch the fish.
The Minnehaha Creek Watershed District says essentially what happened is last year this dam was open longer than it usually is. More fish congregated in this area, then it froze over quickly. The oxygen was depleted, so the fish died. And now, since it's warmed up and the ice has melted a bit, this is why we're seeing this sight.
Oh my gosh.
It's something people have noticed in the past several days. For those who've come to look, they won't forget the sight.
This is going to smell bad.
That too. Until the ice melts and the water washes off this bank, Austin and Steven won't hang around here long.
Oh, probably not.
Ellery McCardle, Care 11 News, Lake Minnetonka.
from the USA, May 15th, 2017.
Hundreds of dead fish swamp the shores of this neighborhood lake, a stench that can be smelled blocks away.
And they were all dying. There were just hundreds of them laying around.
But the smell is just one cause of concern. Linda Watts has lived in the Seven Oaks neighborhood next to the lake for nearly 10 years and says this is a problem she has never had to deal with.
If there's something in the water, is it going to get into our drinking water or what? We don't know.
These waters behind me are filled with dead fish of all different sizes, such as catfish, carp, and trout, a problem homeowners say needs to be fixed immediately. The mysterious kill brought out many people in the neighborhood who say they are demanding answers. The problem doesn't only raise concerns for them, but other wildlife as well.
It's going to affect everything out here. Dogs, ducks, coons, wildlife.
But after numerous calls to the TWRA and 911 office, residents were told the problem was a lake turnover and have no word on when it will be cleaned up.
Well, they're claiming this is a lake turnover. I've been on the water since I was 6, 7 years old. This ain't no lake turnover.
Travis Watt says when a lake turns over, it brings debris to the top. But the waters in this lake are clear, leaving him and other residents searching for the real reason.
The turnover would be kooky looking out there, and the water just clean as a pin.
weeks ago, Abel turned out the cattle for the first time this spring to enjoy the fresh grass, when something went terribly wrong.
When he heard just bellowing, he thought she may have been having a calf or something. And when he got down here, virtually all of the steers and heifers were on the ground, and some were already dead and the others were in convulsions.
Within hours, 15 of the 18 cattle were dead.
Our trainer and my wife and all of us came down here, and yeah, it was very traumatic to see.
Hey, what's up, guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. Well, it's happened again. Another report has just hit the web. It's all over the news. After 32 cows were found grouped together, lifeless, on a farm in Missouri due to an alleged lightning strike. Now, if you guys don't remember, if you're new to the channel, I've posted a couple of videos about this when it's happened before. And it would seem that we have a new trend that's really only been happening over the past couple of years, where we're seeing mass animal die-offs all at one time due to an alleged lightning strike. So 32 cows, the bodies of which were stumbled upon by a farmer by the name of Jared Blackwelder, who woke up to the shocking scene that almost looked like it was something from out of a movie. Unbelievable was the term used. I don't know what's going on here, guys. I mean, yeah, maybe they're being struck by lightning. But if you guys have been following the channel, this has been a phenomenon over the past couple of years. We didn't hear about this stuff back in the day. Alright, I was born in '86. Alright, and I've mostly lived my life in rural areas. I've lived in cities and rural areas, and I've known farmers, and I've never heard of this happening up until just last year when I posted the video about, get this, 300 reindeer that were all instantly killed by, once again, what was purported to be a single lightning strike. 300. Over 300 reindeer. The images of that story you're seeing here. And, you know, that makes this little 32 number seem like peanuts. And, you know, when I did the reindeer story, which, by the way, occurred in Norway back in August of 2016, here we have another article that occurred again in August of 2016, where it was reported that a single lightning strike killed nearly 20 cows, this time in Texas. In February of this year, we had another alleged strike that took out 19 cattle, this time in Zimbabwe. And these articles go on, and most of them have happened within just the last year or two.
Stinky and nasty.
They're all laying around, they're dead.
Hundreds of dead fish. New at 6, the one thing causing a smelly situation for people in St. Petersburg. tonight at 10 in the Bay Area. It's a troubling trend. Some sharks and other marine wildlife washing up on Bay Area shorelines.
Yeah, our Grant Lotus is back now with new pictures and how you can help. A lot of people do want to help, Grant.
Yeah, Pamela, first it was Santa Cruz. You might remember last week. We'll revisit that in a minute. But now it's the peninsula, and if you consider stingrays too, Oakland is falling into this issue. There are a lot of small dead sharks that have been found just today near Bay Area trails in Redwood City, Foster City, and San Mateo. You see some pictures of those little sharks here. Dead stingrays are being reported in Oakland's Lake Merritt, and experts say similar reports, especially with the sharks, are actually coming in every day. And it's just not clear why all the marine life is washing up like this. We go back to last Friday. This great white washed up at Pleasure Point in Santa Cruz. It was 8 feet long. Scientists did a necropsy and say an infection is to blame for making that shark sick. Again, unclear if that was an isolated thing or if these other smaller sharks have the same condition and it's part of a bigger problem. We're going to sort all of that out soon. In the meantime, the Pelagic Shark Foundation, based in Santa Cruz, is pleading with Bay Area folks to be alert when you're out on walks. And if you see any dead sharks, report it immediately to them. They're trying to track this and get a handle on it. By the way, we're posting this story on crowd4.com, so you can go there to share it and also get specific info on where to call if you do see a shark.
Well, let's take a closer look at what exactly depleted uranium is and why it's so dangerous. It's known as DU. It's a toxic and radioactive compound used in armor-piercing munitions. Well, many scientists have voiced concerns that it puts civilians at risk and that exposure can damage people's health for generations after its use.
Depleted uranium is known to be very effective at destroying armored vehicles, including tanks, but its use has been extremely controversial, as it is believed that people's exposure to the material can cause cancer and birth defects. The U.S. military's use of this toxic material contradicts what U.S. officials had said earlier, which was that they would not use depleted uranium.
May 4th, 2017.
Now to an unbelievable sight out of Galveston this evening. Hundreds of beautiful migratory birds dead after flying through the island. And this all happened in just one night. Tim Wetzel is live in Galveston to explain what happened. Tim?
Yeah, the Houston Audubon Society believes this was a combination of last night's really bad weather and the bright lights on this office building. They apparently disoriented the birds, and then the whole flock flew right into the tower. After flying some 600 miles across the Gulf of Mexico, these migrating birds finally reached land, only to slam into a skyscraper. Employees at the American National Insurance Company in Galveston made the sad discovery this morning: 395 dead birds on the ground outside their office. The Houston Audubon Society believes last night's bad weather likely forced the flock lower to the ground, and they say bright building lights can disorient the birds, a combination that caused the feathered creatures to take their final flight right into this 23-story tower.
administrators to turn those lights out, not only to save energy, but it's less of an attraction for these migratory birds so that they can avoid these collisions.
Josh Henderson of the Galveston Police Department took these pictures of the dead migratory birds, which included mostly warblers and orioles. They'll be collected and studied to prevent more large bird kills.
United States, May 11, 2015.
Scientists say it's all because of how dry that it's been lately. Grady Trimble shows you why those fish died and what that means for commercial fishermen.
You can't really tell looking at it, but the water on Lake Hancock is low. Just ask longtime fisherman Kendall Thomas.
Since I was 15,
who makes a living off the fish he catches out here.
In the early 70s.
Thomas says the water hasn't been this low in years. The mud his propeller turns up is evidence of that. More proof sits on the other side of this dam. You smell it before you see it.
What do you... Makes me sick. I made a living right there.
Thousands upon thousands of dead fish, tilapia he'd normally be able to catch and sell. Thomas says it's because of how dry it's been and how much water is being released from the dam.
Now I have to go somewhere else to catch fish. And hope that I catch fish.
This will give you a good idea of just how low the water is. You can see where the water line used to be on the bridge. Now, it's about 3 feet lower. Scientists with the county say the lack of rain and high temperatures mean there's more algae than usual.
So essentially the algae is stealing the oxygen out of the water, which then means it's not available for the fish.
They say that's why these fish are dying by the thousands. Whatever the cause, fishermen like Thomas are hoping for rain and hoping the water level on the lake gets back to normal. In Lakeland, Grady Trimble, 10 News.
55 con. Bây giờ 40 mấy con. Ừ ha. Còn cái nhóm bên đây là sao 5 mấy.
మేడ్చల్ జిల్లా రాంపల్లి గ్రామం పెద్ద చెరువుల 10 లక్షల చేపలు చనిపోయాయి. చల్లపల్లి పారిశ్రామిక వాడలోని రసాయనాలు చెరువుల కలుస్తుండటంతో చనిపోయిన చేపలు ఒడ్డుకు కొట్టుకొచ్చాయి. దీంతో ఆవేదన వ్యక్తం చేస్తున్నారు మత్స్యకారులు. చేపల మృతి మీద ఆఫీసర్లు విచారణ చేపట్టాలని డిమాండ్ చేస్తున్నారు.
పొల్యూషన్ వాటర్ పొల్యూషన్ అయింది. ఆక్సిజన్ పనిచేయక చేపలు ఒక 8-10 లక్షల చేప పిల్లలు చనిపోయినాయి. దీన్ని సొసైటీ రాంపల్లి మత్స్యకార సంఘం సొసైటీ వాళ్ళకి చాలా నష్టపరిహారం జరిగింది. దీనిపై అధికారులు కానీ కలెక్టర్ కానీ లేకపోతే ఎంఆర్ఓ కానీ ఎవరైనా పై అధికారులు స్పందించి మాకు ఏదైనా మేలు చేయగలగాలని చేస్తారని మేము ఆశిస్తున్నాం. కాబట్టి మేము ఇవన్నీ చాలా ఇబ్బంది పడుతున్నాం మా సొసైటీ.
une dizaine de jours, la situation est jugée préoccupante à Fribourg. Une seule espèce est touchée, celle des ablettes. Aujourd'hui encore, 11 000 cadavres de poissons ont été ramassés, mais la cause de ces décès reste mystérieuse. Laurent Chaubat et Mathieu Fournier.
Des poissons morts par poignées entières. Ce matin, le service des forêts et de la faune de Fribourg ramassait pour la 4e fois en 10 jours des milliers de petits cadavres sur les bords de la Sarine. La cause de leur mort est inconnue, mais le mystère est plus grand. Une seule espèce est touchée.
C'est toutes des ablettes. Pour la plupart, toutes celles que j'ai regardées, c'était tous des mâles, donc j'ai pas trouvé une femelle. Ils pouvaient être en train de frayer, ça serait leur saison, parce que
Now, Hyderabad's lakes, it would seem, are turning into watery graves for fish in the last 2 weeks. First, there were 40,000 dead fish found floating in the Shamirpet Lake. Another 20,000 dead fish were found floating in the Medchal Lake. The latest is Rampalli Lake, where 30,000 fish were found. Uma Sudhi reports on what is turning them into Hyderabad's dying lakes.
Fishermen removing dead fish from Rampalli Lake. Overnight on Sunday, some 30,000 of them were found dead, floating on the waters. The authorities blamed it on heat and bacterial infection. Environmentalists say the waters have turned into a deadly cocktail with industrial effluents, chemical residue from agriculture, sewage water from surrounding areas, and also carbon oxygen distress.
This happened in the summer and in the period immediately after the first rains. So pollution is number one. Second is because of the rising temperatures. If only we have provided shady trees all around, probably the fish would have been under the cool waters of the shady trees, and that also needs to be done.
Locals are worried the picturesque Rampalli Lake, spread over 120 acres, may be pushed into the ICU if oxygen distress caused by pollution and encroachment is not immediately addressed.
A disturbing trend off of our Southern California shores. Dead and sick seabirds are washing up from Santa Barbara to San Diego, but experts say one area has been hit the hardest. KCAL9's Andrew Fujii is live in Oxnard right now with more.
Jeff, pelicans and loons are the seabirds most affected, and sometimes they're found dead, wedged in rocks just like these. And experts say Ventura County is getting hit the hardest, and they're not sure why. Hundreds of dead pelicans and other seabirds are washing up on local beaches. Kyle Corey often walks on Silver Strand Beach, and he says he sees them all the time.
And I can see anywhere between 6 and 10 to 12, every walk. And so it's, something going on.
He said he's also seen lots of seals die right in front of him.
It's affected me in a bad way because it's not good to see on the beach.
Elaine Ibarra works with the Santa Barbara Wildlife Care Network. She estimates hundreds of pelicans and loons have died up and down our coast. She says domoic acid is the culprit, which is a naturally occurring toxin in plankton, which fish eat and then other wildlife eats. But she explains that this year there was a bigger than normal plankton bloom, and depending on how much fish the wildlife eats, it can be fatal. And for some reason, she says Ventura County is getting hit the hardest.
That could be from temperature,
runoff. We had a lot of rain this year, so some people are speculating that it might have to do with the runoff into the water. Ibarra says it's normal to see some seals and birds die during this time of year from domoic acid, but she's never seen so many sick birds. They're very stressed out, and it is really hard to see something have a seizure and know that there's very little that you can do to help. She says it's impossible to predict how long the plankton bloom will last, but it may not end until early summer. Until then, Kyle Corey says he'll keep documenting the dead wildlife he sees, hoping it'll somehow help.
How many have to die before somebody cares?
Вообще кошмар. А какой запах уже стоит, да? Фу, дышать невозможно. Давай, поехали дальше. Как будто бочку забили. А сколько внутри его лежит? В камышах уже? В камышах и под водой. Вот здесь, смотри, песком можно вспомнить. Сколько? Десятки тонн, десятки тонн. Это вся флора, фауна погублена. И сотни есть. Десятки, что-то мало сказал. Сотни тонн. Потом веков местные здесь рыбачили. бесплатно, как говорится, для потребностей своих. Ловили карася, чтобы не мешали. Получается, озеро загублено. Местное угодье. Это экологическая катастрофа. Сейчас вот сюда заплывем, там посмотрим. Давай. Да, доводы жителей подтверждаются, что вот реально масштаб бедствия это уму непостижимо. Сколько погибло рыбы. Покажи, какие виды рыб, смотри. Сейчас вот достанем даже, гляньте. Она вот только умерла, она даже разлагаться еще не стала. Вот она еще. Даже кости не появились. Это получается, рыба была загублена перед ледосоставом. Если бы она, рыба была бы, ну, умерла бы, так скажем, задохнулась бы еще зимой, она разложилась бы и не всплыла бы просто. Одни кости были. А рыба еще живая, можно сказать. Здесь вот можно даже посмотреть, некоторые караси даже вот только вчера умерли. Даже молодняк весь погиб. Посмотри, вон там сколько его тонн там лежит. Много. Десятки тонн, десятки. Ну, примерно по счетам примерно около 100 тонн. Это вот так на пальцах, если посчитать. Понимаешь? Вот здесь плотность, я думаю, до дна доходит, наверное. Это, наверное, метровая толщина вот этого рыбы, которая прибила к берегу. Получается, в камышах вся рыба сдохла. Намеренно кто-то это сделал, или искусственный замор, или природный замор, так скажем. Я думаю, правоохранительные органы разберутся. Мы не будем, конечно, заплывать в камыши, так как, может, лодку продырявит. Я думаю, достаточно будет.
What's up, guys? I'm out here on a Texas coast on a river channel, and there are millions of fish dying right now. It's mainly menhaden, but there's a bunch of other trout and flounder and reds mixed in with them. Let's go check it out. This is one of the craziest things I've seen in my life. Just massive amounts of fish. Oh, look how many. They just washed up everywhere. And they're all down the beach. Just look at them stacked up. Insane. Stuck in that crab trap. Look how many there are. That's just crazy. Look at them stacked up over here. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's insane. Look how many there are.
They were just thick. All kinds of thick.
Look at this, guys. That is insane. That's insane. That is crazy. Look how many there are. God. It's literally a sea of fish. So that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. If you think you know what caused that, please leave a comment below. Some of the locals are saying it's because of lack of oxygen in the water, but I'm not sure that caused it. So please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and please go subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.
Кошмар. А какой запах уже стоит, да?
Фу, дышать невозможно. Давай, поехали дальше.
Какая плотность.
Как будто бочку забили.
А сколько внутри его лежит? В камышах уже
В
сидит?
камышах и под водой.
Вот здесь, смотри, песком можно. Это сколько? Десятки тонн, десятки тонн. Это вся флора, фауна погублена.
И сотни есть. Десятки, что-то мало сказал. Сотни тонн.
Испокон веков местные здесь рыбачили бесплатно, как говорится, для потребностей своих. Ловили карася, чтобы не мешали. Получается, озеро загублено.
Местные угодья. Это экологическая катастрофа?
Сейчас вот сюда заплывем, там посмотрим.
Давай.
Да, доводы жителей подтверждаются, что вот реально масштаб бедствия это уму непостижимо. Сколько погибло рыбы. Покажи, какие виды рыб, смотри. Сейчас вот достанем даже для наглядности. Она вот только умерла, она даже разлагаться еще не стала. Вот она еще. Даже кости не появились. Это получается, рыба была загублена перед ледосоставом. Если бы она, рыба была бы, ну, умерла бы, так скажем, задохнулась бы еще зимой, то она разложилась бы и не всплыла бы просто. Одни кости были. А рыба еще живая, можно сказать. Здесь вот можно даже посмотреть. Некоторые караси даже вот только вчера умерли. Даже молодняк весь погиб. Посмотри, вон там сколько его тонн там лежит. Много. Десятки тонн, десятки. Ну, примерно по счетам примерно около 100 тонн. Это вот так, на пальцах, если посчитать.
Понимаешь?
Но здесь плотность, я думаю, до дна доходит, наверное. Это, наверное, метровая толщина вот этого рыбы, которая прибила к берегу. Получается, в камышах вся рыба сдохла. Намеренно кто-то это сделал, или искусственный замор, или природный замор, так скажем. Я думаю, правоохранительные органы разберутся. Мы не будем, конечно, заплывать в камыши, так как, может, лодку продырявить. Я думаю, достаточно будет.
What's up guys, I'm out here on a Texas coast on a river channel and there are millions of fish dying right now. It's mainly menhaden, but there's a bunch of other trout and flounder and reds mixed in with them. Let's go check it out. This is one of the craziest things I've seen in my life. Just massive amounts of fish. Oh, look how many. They just washed up everywhere. And they're all down the beach. Just look at them stacked up. Insane. Stuck in that crab trap. Look how many there are. That's just crazy. Look at them stacked up over here. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. That's insane. Look how many there are.
They were just thick. All kinds of thick.
Look at this, guys. That is insane. That's insane. That is crazy. Look how many there are. God. It's literally a sea of fish. So that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in my life. If you think you know what caused that, please leave a comment below. Some of the locals are saying it's because of a lack of oxygen in the water, but I'm not sure that caused it. So please be sure to give the video a thumbs up and please go subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.
Thursday, June 29th, 2017.
Back here in the Ministry for Primary Industries, cull of Stewart Island flat oysters in a bid to stop the spread of a parasite is expected to finish today. By the end of the day, around 80 tonnes of material will have been culled from Big Glory Bay after the Bonamia osprey outbreak was detected 2 weeks ago. MPI plans to remove hatchery equipment next week. It's hoped the cull will stop the potentially fatal parasite reaching Fovo Strait oysters.
Picture-perfect day along the Lake Erie shoreline until something frightful began surfacing from the deep Wednesday.
We were all just sitting here like, what the heck is happening? What is this? What's going on?
Northeasterly winds pushed the rolling waves westward, right into Sheffield Lake.
It looked like there were whitecaps, but they were a bunch of dead fish.
A lot of dead fish.
Turning the boat launch and beach into a watery grave.
There were just piles of dead fish everywhere and guys were burying them.
Pretty disgusting.
All of them sheep's head, also known as freshwater drumfish.
If you look out past that pier, there's one out there. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them right now.
Mayor Dennis Bring was immediately concerned and began contacting both the EPA and ODNR.
This is obviously our drinking water. We want to make sure it's safe.
The Ohio Department of Natural Resources is keeping an eye on the situation, but says at this point it does not appear to be linked to either the nearby power plant or any sort of disease, because they say if that was the case, multiple species would be washing ashore.
Now they're saying that it might be because of spawning, and they said because of the water temperature and everything else is late spawning season.
They say last season's snow and chilly temperatures stressed out the fish, causing them to die. It's actually happened before, but back in 2006, a so-called natural die-off occurred.
They told me there was a dead zone in the lake as far as lack of oxygen, and that happened also.
ODNR says the water remained safe back then and is safe now, despite the unsightly fish, which should end within a week or so.
It's rare and certainly tough to see. Last Thursday, we told you about this 10-foot pilot whale found stranded on the coast in Taylor County.
And now we're learning it wasn't the only one. Researchers are trying to figure out why this is happening. Erica Fernandez is in our studio with more on that. Erica?
Ben, Julie, researchers are starting to think that there may be something wrong with the species. Now, these animals, they travel in groups, and if their leader is sick, there's a good possibility the pack is just following behind. Now, over a 4-day period, rescue teams and FWC responded to 10 different whale strandings in Taylor and Dixie counties. And of those 10, only one was saved. The mammal found washed ashore in Hagen's Cove last week in shock for hours before vets deemed it too sick to save, and it was euthanized. 8 others also found last weekend, but none surviving. Researchers now looking into what's causing the whales to beach themselves and if and how they can be treated.
United States, August 17th, 2017.
So bad it makes you gag. Thousands of dead fish are washing up along the shores of Tampa Bay, and Peter Bernard is on the night beat for us in Clearwater. What's going on, Peter?
Jen, an algae bloom is responsible for this fish kill. We're standing out here, and I can tell you it is really smelly. These fish are rotting in the hot sun, making it very difficult even to be outside.
You say there's thousands. I don't know that that's impossible.
Out behind Mark Prince's home in Safety Harbor,
Here's another big redfish back in here. I guess that's a redfish.
dead fish are decaying in the mangroves. Redfish, drumfish, mullet, some are giants. It's all happening in the waters of Old Tampa Bay on the Pinellas side. The smell can knock you out.
It's pretty gamey. I'm afraid it's going to get a lot worse.
Buzzards are enjoying a fish feast, but Mark's daughter doesn't like the stench wafting through the air.
I've lived here for 24 years and haven't seen anything like this, and who knows, but I hope somebody gets to the bottom of it.
Florida Fish and Wildlife have reports of dead fish in Felipe Park, Allen's Creek, and at the Bayside and 580 bridges. The agency blames low dissolved oxygen in the water. We saw these on the north side of the Bayside Bridge. Stingrays seem to be a common sight. At the nearby Grand Bellagio condos, Evie Hammond suspects runoff from a construction project is to blame. And the smell?
It's worse than when I had to change it. It's bad. Yeah, you can't even breathe out here.
Evie snapped these pictures of dead fish at the complex. It's a smorgasbord for nature's scavengers, a serious concern for people worried about the environment.
There's 47 dolphins, 51 endangered sea turtles have died this year off the Gulf Coast. And now scientists are trying to figure out if they're the latest victims of the massive dead zone in the Gulf.
And those scientists are sounding the alarm that swift environmental changes are affecting all life in the ecosystem. Meg Ferris reports.
We started our day about 5:30, right?
Lifelong Gulf Coast fisherman Reggie Walker said it's getting harder to make a living.
It's just getting real bad right here right now. It's not nothing like it used to be back years ago.
He doesn't need to see news reports about the largest dead zone in Gulf history, the size of New Jersey. He sees the effects firsthand.
A lot of the fish are not as healthy as they used to be and stuff like that. The shrimping, it was real good, but it's depleting pretty much every year. The season gets later and you catch smaller shrimp and stuff like that.
We are now seeing more jubilees, which are animals gasping for air and dying.
Biologists at the Institute for Marine Mammal Studies in Gulfport are studying the cause of death of 4 dozen dolphins and even more sea turtles. He warns they are the canaries in the mine.
These animals are top of the food chain and are a good indicator of the environment. And I can tell you there is something that is not looking very good.
The large amount of rain is causing the Mississippi Sound to go from brackish to fresh water, and all the agricultural, industrial, and sewage runoff from many states and rivers drain through the mouth of the Mississippi, creating the dead zones off the coast.
Just a few years ago, we had a catastrophic decline in oyster fishery. The blue crabs live on the oyster reefs. We lost the blue crab, so it's a domino effect.
Conditions can improve when it's drier in the winter, but he says policymakers need to listen to the science and start using spillways and levees to slow down the release of fresh water. From Gulfport, Meg Ferris, Eyewitness News.
The scientists also warn that some marine life, like oysters, can't move to other waters when the salt levels change, and they are unable to adapt when the change happens so fast.